Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Max, welcome to Coaching Call. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Sipo?
Exceptional, my friend. Doing better every day.
Awesome.
I'm happy to have you because today we're going to be talking about franchising success and resilience. Before we even get into that, because that can be a great idea topic, especially for somebody who may consider either owning a franchise or going into franchising. Tell me a little bit about you. Where were you born, and who influenced you before the age of 10?
So I was born and raised in the former Soviet Union and lived there till the age of 18 when I moved to the United States with my family. So before the age of 10, definitely my older brother, who is almost 13 years older than me, and I was always looking up to be like him. And when you're a little kid and your brother already in your 20s and you're looking at what his friends and what he does, I mean, I want to be him when I grow up. So I was always looking up at him, and he always was like, okay, I'm busy. So he tried to spend time with me, but I understand. I've always joking that the first time my brother got divorced, I was 11. I mean, what could we talk about? And now, God knows how many years, 40 years later, we are the best friends. So we hang out all the time, we see each other, we travel a lot. So now this 12, 13 year difference just is gone completely.
Isn't that interesting? When you're young, it's so far apart, but the older you get, the closer in age you become, right?
Absolutely, and honestly, and I feel proud about it. Sometimes he's asking me for an advice because we're different, have different careers, different paths, and he's like, "Hey, I need somebody in this field," and I'm introducing him to somebody, and then he starts working with these people. So it's like very interesting. Then at some capacity, he comes to me and looking up to me. That's awesome. I never thought that's gonna happen. So that's great.
What a great testament to your brother that you looked up to him, and now that you guys are such buddy, and that you actually travel together. That's beautiful. That really is. That really is. And you said by the time you were 11, he was divorced.
For the first time, yes. So that's
For the
like
first time.
joke that's been going on for a long time.
Got it. Got it. How was growing up in the Soviet Union for you?
I'm not gonna go right now and tell your listeners about the hardships, and so it
Right.
was a very happy childhood. Okay, growing up, being, if you're talking about under the age of 10, you don't really realize that you live in a Soviet system and that
Right.
there is a dictatorship, blah blah blah, because you don't know anything better. Okay, so
Correct.
you really think that's the way it's supposed to be. Um, yeah, looking back now, we had probably 15 to 30 minutes of children's programming on TV weekday, and I'd say 2 to 3 hours on a weeknight. But we always had sports going on, that being soccer or hockey or whatever it is, movies that, more like for adults, but you started watching it when you were a kid, which actually helped me to grow up faster. So that's a
Right.
benefit. And honestly, we spend a lot of time playing on the street. That was absolutely normal during the summer vacation. we were gone the whole day. We were outside and then just come back when either our parents were yelling from the balcony, "Hey, it's time to come back!" And we're talking about big, 9, 10 story buildings, or when we were told to come back and we were always late and getting in trouble. So we're normal kids. I mean, I was
Right,
a
right.
good kid, but it was a very happy childhood.
Mm. When you thank you for that, because it reminded me when you started talking about playing on the streets, it reminded me when I was doing it as a child, right? Um, Tell me about your feelings when you were leaving Russia at 18. What was that like? Was it scary? Was it exciting? What was that like?
So both, because my brother, who, remember, I was looking up to, he left about 3 years before me and my parents. He came here first, and so I haven't seen him for 3 years, and I knew we're gonna see him soon and then be together. So I was very excited about it. But when I left at the age of 18, I already finished 1 year of university. I met my friends, which a lot of them, the core of people, we're still very close and we see each other almost every year. Uh, and we're all in different countries now. But back then, you were living forever. It was, I mean,
Mm.
remember, there is no internet, there is no
Right.
cell. I remember when I came to the United States, the minute of call from here to Russia was $2.50, and my first job bussing tables in restaurant, I was making 450. So you can imagine, I we talked, twice a year, and it was like stupid calls, because you call like, "How are you? Good. I'm good too," because you don't know what you talk about. Like, you're really
Right.
watching the time, because it's like you're like, okay, that time is ticking. Here's an hour of work. So it was very interesting, but so it was both. It was mixed feelings. So I remember I cried when I was leaving my hometown. A lot of my friends came to say goodbye. Some went to Moscow to get us on the plane, so we had like an extra 24 hours to spend together on the train.
Mm.
But it was scary. Not that, oh my God, what's gonna happen to us? I haven't thought about it. I knew I'm gonna be fine, but it just
Right.
I'm leaving my childhood behind. Yeah, that's right. That's the feeling I've got. I'm leaving my childhood behind. That was very
Mm.
interesting. My parents still treated me as a little kid back in Russia. I mean, remember, this was maybe a year after Soviet Union collapsed. So in my mind, it was
Mm.
still Soviet Union. So like with
Right.
literally 12 months after, so we didn't realize where we were living, because it was very hard. It was a transition period.
Right.
So
Right.
but as soon as we crossed the border, because I spoke a little English, unlike my parents and two grandmothers who came with us who did not, so I took over. So immediately they were like looking at, oh, no, no, he's not a kid anymore. Now I tell him how it's going to be. So that was very interesting, like that.
So you found out that time is money, right? Because when you were making those phone calls, you realized that time is money then.
For sure. And I also realized that to make more money, you need to shorten the time for learning. So that was like when I learned English coming to the United States, I'm like, I have to find the way outside of the box, because going. I still went to college and studying English, but I'm like, it's gonna take forever. So I was looking for different ways, and that was the beginning of my thought process. Like, how do you beat the system? How do you start
Mm.
thinking outside of the box? So I came up with my own know-how to learn English. I wish I could have trademarked it. Then I would make a lot of money, but
Right.
it was awesome.
What because the United States is so big, where did you guys land?
San Diego, and I'm still in San Diego. I travel a lot for business, having offices in different parts of the world, and conferences and trade shows, and then friends, family all over the world. I travel a lot, but I've been in San Diego for 32 years now. I did have
Mm.
an offer from Lehman Brothers when they still existed after I graduated, but I decided to stay and work for Qualcomm, which is one of the largest employers in Southern California. So I stayed and worked in corporate accounting and finance.
So that was your thing, finance, huh?
finance was my thing, and I got a taste of accounting a little bit, not a little bit, a lot during my 4 years, my first 4 years in corporate America, and the only 4 years in corporate America.
Mm. When you were working in that 4 years, what were some of the lessons that you would say still stick with you today?
Um, don't necessarily accept everything people tell you. uh, how I should put it. Well, I remember I was working in the department, and the guy who was training me was telling me, it's such a tough job, man. I am
Mm.
spending 10, 12 hours doing it every day. And I can see him. He's working long hours. And then he passed it on to me and moved on to do some other stuff. And after like a few weeks, it takes me 2 to 3 hours. And I'm like,
Mm.
well, what am I doing wrong? The guy said I'm supposed to be here. And I'm like, I'm done not even a half day. So seriously, there were days when, I had to work long hours, but not
Right.
every day, not as much what he was doing. I'm like, what am I missing? I was double checking my work and it was right. I was triple checking and I was right. Then I remember I started coming to my supervisor like, "Hey, I'm done. Give me something to do." And they give me some projects, and then they ran out of projects, and then they said, "Just make sure we don't see you. As long as the job is done, we don't we don't care." It was that was funny. I mean, of course, Netflix did not exist, so I couldn't watch the movies, and I could not do a
Right.
lot of stuff. But so I was bored. But because of that, I left the corporate world and went into becoming an entrepreneur because I was bored. So I am grateful that happened, because if they would keep me busy, most likely my career
Mm.
would go a different route.
Right, right. When you consider all of the ideas that you had going into this whole concept, you said you became an entrepreneur. What was your first focus on entrepreneurial? What did that mean to you?
My first focus. Well, I guess I had it in me when I was a little kid. I was always looking for opportunities, how to make money. But growing in the Soviet Union, obviously, we didn't have a lot of those. So my family had a small, I mean, one route landscape maintenance company, literally three people working and doing landscape maintenance. And I came to my dad and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm I'm bored. Like I'm leaving corporate world regardless, but I see we can do something with this business. How about we try?" And I came in and learned. I didn't know not I knew nothing about the industry. And I remember I left. I gave him 2 week notice, and everybody was, "Are you crazy? I mean, the company is growing, the stock is growing." I'm like, "I don't care. I just I have to leave." So I did leave, and then from three people we grew to 96 people and became large
Mm.
operations, and we went into construction. And obviously, it was a great time until it wasn't, when we took a dive during the recession of 8 or 9. But I also was learning experience. So when I jumped into that, I had no idea what to expect, other than, "Hey, I'll figure it out." So that
Mm.
was the only thought that I had at the time.
Mm. Wow. So from 3 to 96, that's incredible. What was the catalyst for that jump? What was it that you did to make that happen?
Just pushing it forward, just um going forward every day, just pushing, doing marketing, being persistent. I would not take no for an answer. I still don't take no for an answer. I'm very, very persistent. So a lot of people say that about me. It can be annoying, I know that, but that's why now I'm watching myself. But until people tell me stop, contacting me, any potential candidate, any potential partner, we just going forward. We follow up, we follow up, we follow up. And a lot of the time, maybe 3 months from now, 6 months, a year from now, they're like, yeah, now it's time. And we get a client for business. Or like I can tell you right now, for my franchising business, and I have three different businesses, but selling my own bookkeeping franchises. Just a few days ago, we started selling. We started sending emails to 6,000 people that who at some point contacting us and it didn't go anywhere. And
Mhm.
100 emails went out, and two people said, "Well, we want to talk again." And only 100 emails, and we literally started doing it a few days ago. So it'll be done because we have a limit how many you can send a day. So it'll be done in about a week or so. So I'm expecting a lot of activity from that, and that I call being persistent.
That is it. It's a numbers game when you think of it that way, right?
Absolutely.
What made you, and you said that the company went down and, with the recession and so forth. What was the next venture that you went into?
Next venture was my MBA called bankruptcy. That was I wouldn't say free MBA. It was very very expensive MBA,
Oh, yeah.
but it was a very good lesson. Now looking back, I'm grateful it happened. As a matter of fact, Sifo, I'm grateful for everything that happened in my life
Mm,
because I believe what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
sure.
But at the time, it didn't feel this way. At the time, it was the end of everything, and I didn't know what to do. We had one baby at home and one on the way, and
Mm,
nothing, like literally
wow.
nothing. And luckily for me at the time, the job market did not exist because 08 or 09 it was pretty tough. So it started with real estate, but then it went down.
Mhm.
So bankruptcy was the next venture, but because lack of jobs, I started the company again. But now I went just into maintenance, and the second time we were more successful. We eventually sold it.
Mm,
But while doing this landscaping second time, I made landscaping. I said I'm not going to construction. The reason went into bankruptcy. Besides not watching the numbers and a lot of stuff that I own, all my mistakes. But they stopped building track homes, and we were doing landscaping for track homes. So the income just went to zero overnight. They were
right,
building like crazy in San Diego, like the real estate was booming, and then one at some point, like boom, it stopped. So
right.
that was it. So we were looking for bookkeeping for our company, and we got 20 proposals, and for the same scope of work, it went from $200 to $2,000. So
Wow.
me and my wife were looking at it. Something is wrong, so we need to do something about it, and that's how the idea of bookkeeping came, and then we came up with the name. Um, and also the first company, the one that went bankrupt, if we had time to work on our numbers, and I have finance degree, she had masters of accounting at the time, so we knew the numbers. We just were so busy
Mm,
growing, we didn't pay attention.
right, right, right.
So but from
Incredible.
that, bookkeeping began. So again, that was the stepping stones for the next thing. So I think it's all stepping stones. You just have to look at it this way.
It's very interesting that you realize that, what one of the things that may have, made you guys go into bankruptcy was because of the bookkeeping, right? And then so you decided to handle it,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
it was an opportunity, and again, it was more like a gut feeling. Hey, that's the way to do it. It wasn't like calculated. That we didn't know. We definitely haven't thought about franchising it. That wasn't even on the horizon.
so let's go ahead and talk about franchising. When did you realize that franchising was the right call for you?
Well, a couple things. So while we grew the bookkeeping business, was a local San Diego bookkeeping company, but I was always looking for ways to take it nationwide. And by accident, I got introduced to a franchisor who I met at the trade show and talked to him, and he introduced me to. his boss, and we started doing bookkeeping for their franchisees. It didn't
Mm,
cross my mind it's possible. And then before we knew, we started doing it, and I got involved into international franchise associations, started going to their trade shows. Again, it was all about persistence. First trade show cost a lot of money. We got zero
mm,
new clients. But I came back next year, and we got one or two, because people like, oh, they're coming back, so they're here to stay. And then now we do bookkeeping for over 100 franchise brands in the United States. Okay.
wow.
So some big guys like Fast Science, Sport Clips, they're the clients of ours. Um,
Mm,
but then that also became a stepping stone for franchising my own business, bookkeeping, because I just like to be in the room with those franchisors, because everybody is so ready to help, and everybody's so friendly. Like, I go to a lot of conferences and trade shows. It's totally normal to see two competitors of brands that each has 500, 600 franchisees sitting, at the bar at night and then talking. And they're like direct
mm,
competitors. It's absolutely
right.
normal. You walk around the hall, you see a CEO of, I'm not kidding you, McDonald's, and you come to her and just say, um, I have a question, and she would stop and then talk to you. I mean, I
Mm,
never went to CEO of McDonald's, but CEO of very large companies. Like, literally, I would stop them or listening to their lecture. I would see them at the party, and just literally they would spend 20, 30 minutes talking to me. And that's
mm,
before I became even a franchisor. And they're like, and a lot of the time, like, hey, here's my number, just call me, let me know how it went. So they,
mm.
like, everybody's eager to learn. And I'm like, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be like that, because it's fun.
When I grow up, I love that. I love that.
I'm 50, I keep saying that when I grow up, so I'm just still waiting to grow up. It's still not
Well,
happening, I guess.
Max, here's a saying that I say all the time: when I grow up, I'm going to get a job. Right?
Yeah, well, I hope that's not gonna happen. Look, it's been 23 years since I work for somebody, and I like it this way. So I
Yeah,
I hope I
likewise.
never I hope I never gonna get a job. I hope I'm gonna stay entrepreneur, but opening new businesses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Max, what I'd love to do is be able to have people reach out to you. So, what is a website or something that somebody can reach out and contact you in case they want to look into franchising or anything like that?
Sure. And from franchising my own business, but bookkeeping, we actually I realized that I'm leaving a lot of people out, because if they're not a good match, I was saying, sorry, I can't help you. So I became a franchise broker, opened my own brokerage called Main Entrance. I have teams in all three businesses, so don't think that I'm doing it. No way I would do it by myself.
That would
But
be too
I
hard.
no, it will be impossible. So the reason I'm telling you that is we can help people to in their franchising journey. That it doesn't have to be accounting. But I couldn't figure out how for people to contact me, because I would have to give three different websites. So I created my virtual card, and it's called franchisewithmax.com. So people can just
I'm
go
gonna
there.
I'm gonna put that I'm gonna put that here. Franchise with Max.
Yes, and then
.com.
franchisewithmax.com. People can go in and they can choose if they're looking for bookkeeping for their business, if they're looking to buy a bookkeeping franchise, or if they just want a franchise advice. And by the way, as a brokerage, my services are completely free. We only get paid by franchisor if somebody ends up buying. If they don't, it's absolutely free. We don't charge anything hourly. They work directly with me. So that's definitely the way to do it. At least
That's
look at
incredible.
this. Look at this possibility. I'm not saying franchising is not for everyone, because you have to follow some rules. You can't just, person like me would not be able to be in franchising. I would not be able to follow any rules. So I would be a very bad franchisee. If somebody like me would come in, I would not sell him a franchise.
Got it. So I have it across. Is that correct? Franchisewithmax.com?
Absolutely, that's perfect.
Great. Okay, good. So that was one of the questions that I've been meaning to ask you since I know I was going to have you on. What makes it right for someone to even consider owning a franchise?
Well, somebody who's eager to learn, somebody who wants to grow, because you can scale franchising business. Because the idea is, whether it's a bookkeeping franchise or a pizza shop, that you open one, you become successful, and then you open a second location. Or in case of bookkeeping, you just continue growing, hiring new people, do more business development, and get more business. If somebody is looking for a job, and unfortunately, some people look into franchising, just buying themselves a job. That's an expensive job to buy. So, and I can tell you, Sifu, I've said no to some people who are gonna buy bookkeeping franchise after talking to him, because people don't realize, not only they interviewing us when we have executive calls, discovery days, we're also interviewing them, and then the team gets together and we discuss and looking into each candidate and seeing if he or she is the right match. Because um, the franchise agreement is average of 10 years, so it's longer than most of the marriages in the United States.
Yes.
So the question I ask myself: do I want to see this person, weekly, every week, or sometimes even more often? Okay, via Zoom most of the time, but still, do I want all my franchisees have my cell phone number? They text me, we talk. If I'm in the city, I am. Meeting with them. So we recently sold one in Bay Area, in San Francisco area, and I've never met the franchisees live. So I'm flying there on Saturday, and we're just gonna have lunch.
Mm.
So because I really want to meet them in person, and I have friends living in the area, so I'll do that, and then I'll hang out with my friends for the weekend. But every time I would be going to see my friends, I'm planning to at least tell them, hey, I'm here. Let's get together if you want to. It's not mandatory, but it's cool for me to see people live, and get to know them.
That makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you, with so many different types of franchises, how did you realize that you want to become a franchise broker?
Because I ran into a lot of people who were ready to own a franchise, but we were just not the right franchise for them. And
Mm.
I just, it just didn't go anywhere. But also doing bookkeeping for 100 franchise brands, you willingly or unwillingly learn about what they do. And then when I go to franchise conferences, like the one coming up in a few weeks in Las Vegas, is going to be about 4 or 5 thousand people. So we have a booth, because the main goal to go there is for us to get clients like other franchise brands to use us as bookkeeping provider. But there are a lot of them where I go to learn. So I just go. There are classes, because I'm a franchisor also. See, I want to learn what's in the industry, how to sell. I don't know what I don't know, so I'm definitely there. I'm a sponge. I'm learning. So I know a lot about franchising. I became a certified franchise executive because I wanted to. So it meant I had to go to school and get my degree. So that was on top of my degree that I had before, and then pass the exam. So I'm like, I know a lot, and it just stays with me. It doesn't go anywhere. And so that was just thing, just willing to educate people. And again, it might not be the right match, and that's fine. I'm good with that. But the way I approach it, I always ask people where they want to be in 3 years, what they want to do, what their hobbies. So we talk about their life and their goals before we get into that. Because example I always use, you can be the best cook ever, and your pizza from grandma's recipe could be the best pizza, you know, in the world. But that's one
Mhm.
pizza that you cook for your family. How about 100 pizzas every hour that have to come out exactly the same? You're gonna
Mm.
have 7 employees, three of them not gonna show up because it's New Year's Day, and then other stuff, and then you get health inspection and many and other things. I mean, it
Right.
has nothing to do how good of a cook you are, because as a matter of fact, if you buy a pizza shop, you can't use your own recipe. You have to do what franchisor tells you to do. And people don't realize, like, well, I love cooking. I'm like, well, you will not cook anymore, because now you in restaurant business, has nothing to do with cooking. And I'm talking about fast food right now.
Right, right, right,
If
right.
it's a restaurant with unique menu, Michelin star, or not even Michelin star, then you can experiment. But if you buy a franchise, PF Chang is a franchise.
Correct. Yep.
There are a lot of great steakhouses franchises. You can't add stuff to the menu. You have to do what's approved by a franchisor. Fleming's is a franchise.
Mm. When you I love this concept of franchise because you're buying a proven method, right? You're buying something that has worked. How does someone even start a brand new franchise? Is that something that you help people do as well,
If
or
somebody
is that
wants,
something afterwards?
well, are you talking about somebody who wants to become a franchisor and franchise their concept?
Hmm.
Yeah, I do that too. I do consult because I went through all of that, and I don't use subcontractors. I don't become like one stop shop. There are people like that do that. You go to them and they'll take care of everything. What I do, again, we talk, and I'm coaching people. I'm like, hey, I worked with 4 or 5 legal providers over the years that are who are in franchising. I know probably 5 or 6 more on a personal level, different
Hmm.
sizes. So let's see who I think would be a good personality. And from this point on, I would introduce people. Obviously, in legal world, you're not even allowed to get any kickbacks, and I would not ask for one. So yes,
Right.
people, but for that, people would have to pay hourly, would pay have, because that's more consulting. But once
Right.
they pick one, they're on their own there. I'm still there to help them with, maybe marketing. My advice, because I can tell you, you don't know what you don't know. Already said that we
Mm.
wasted a lot of money. I don't want to say wasted. It was a learning experience, but it was a very expensive learning. So
Mm.
when I do consulting, I just make sure that people don't repeat the same mistakes. And again, it's their choice. It was a mistake for
Mhm.
me. It might be the best thing for them. So I always give them option. I never give them one provider. I tell them about different ones and what to expect, and tell them what people can do themselves, what they can. A great example. Um, when we started franchising bookkeeping, part of any franchise is the brand manual. This is pretty much the book that explains everything from A to Z how
Mhm.
to run the business. I'm like, wow, I've been doing it for so long. I know how to do it. I'm going to do
Right.
it myself. So um, we sat down with the team and we probably came up with about 35 pages, 50 pages, I don't remember. But I'm like, nah, that's not enough. Nobody gonna pay money for this, that many pages. So we hired a company. Now our brand manual is about 900 pages.
Oh my goodness.
And they got most of the information from our heads, but it was just
Right.
getting it from our heads, putting it on paper, doing that. It's a live document. We update it all the time. Now we update it ourselves. As a matter of fact, we're actually bringing them back right now to do like a big revision because it's time. It's been 5 years. But,
Mm.
I'm glad I did that. And yes, they charge for that, but it was worth it.
Right. Because then now your franchisee fee is more, right?
Well, it's not even that. It's because I provide value to the franchisees because 35 pages. I mean, first of all, nobody would even consider buying a franchise. I would not. I
Mm.
but yeah, because that's part of the training. I mean, training is, by the way, it's huge. That's what puts franchise separates them from competition. Like our training, and we update it all the time. Like we started with just 2 week training via Zoom. Now
Mhm.
it's 2 week training, plus they get 3 months of accounting school, plus they get 6 months of sales training, and they get 1 year of executive coaching. So for 1 year, they get access to my co-founder, and has a PhD. It's Now it's my ex-wife, but she's still a huge part of the business. We started the business together, and her name is Elena Emma, and she's talking to each of the franchisees and employees, and helping them to get to the best of their performance. That's what she does, one on one, no recordings. I have no idea what they're talking about. I always say, if you guys watch Billions on Showtime, it's they had a character called Wendy. I mean, so she
Right.
that's what she did. So she's the Wendy of bookkeeping, and then it's like a
Mm,
secret weapon. But people looking forward, and I can see what how she's helping franchisees and employees. Like I can see the difference. So that's awesome. But again, we didn't do it when we just started because we had no idea. We thought 2 weeks would be enough.
mm. Do you I know a lot of franchisees are hands-on, right? So is there a training facility that sometimes people go to in some franchises, not necessarily books.com,
No,
but
bookkeeping we don't
bookkeeping.
we do it all via Zoom because it's a remote business. But I've been to quite a few franchisors facilities. Absolutely, like for example, I've been to Sinorama Training Center. So you go in, they actually have the actual Sinorama built in their headquarters. It looks exactly like their store with the same equipment, and part of their training, it's not just the classrooms. People go in and actually make signs. So the CEOs go in and see how equipment works, how to do it. I believe they even do stuff themselves because the idea is for them to learn. It's not obviously recommended for them to go and do everything themselves, but at least they have an idea how it's done. So absolutely, I've been to restaurant headquarters and as franchisors, and I've seen like a restaurant built in, and that's where people go and make sandwiches, learn. So it's like a real stuff. Sometimes the, they take you to their leading store and you spend 2 weeks in the store.
Mm.
A lot of
To see how
restaurant
it works,
franchises
right?
will not sell to you until you work for some even 1 month at their location doing everything. I don't think it's 40 hours per week you have to do it, but still you have to do everything from being a dishwasher to, burger flipper. It depends on the brand. But I think it's
Yep.
awesome because by the time you actually go live, you know exactly how each process works. And walking by, you see something is off and you'll catch it right away. Like right now, you sell a restaurant franchise to me. I know how it should look at the end, but I have no idea the small. So I will miss all the small steps, and that's going to lead to bigger problems.
Yeah. So that's such a critical aspect. Are franchisees now doing a lot of video training as well, or is that like part of the SOPs where they're like, if they have a question, sometimes they can just go click on a video and see the process as well.
They do library. I mean, we do the same thing. We have like Loom library, but nothing will substitute the actual
A person,
communication.
right?
Well, I called it live, even though we do it via Zoom. It's impossible for us, obviously, to meet every week. Nobody's doing it live, but every
Right.
week we have a franchisee town hall where we have the facilitators, whoever wants to come from franchisees, and then somebody from the C level. And then they have access to all of us. Needless to say, they have access to me pretty much 24/7. But this is where people can ask questions and other people learning. And then so every week we might have a topic, we might not, we might keep it open, just questions and answer, but it happens every week. So that's huge. But we do have a library where we record stuff, and people, if need be, can go and look at it. And then also all the sessions on Mondays are recorded, so if you couldn't make it, you can go and watch.
Mm. Oh, I like that. I like that. Max, I know I've been asking you, kind of grilling you, and thank you for for answering all my
That's
questions.
all good.
Yeah, yeah,
I love it.
but I figure anybody who may want to get into a franchise, this would be a great episode for them to see how your expertise is going to help them move along. Let me ask you, there are so many different types of franchises. There's some that are minimal to get into, right? Minimal amount of
Mhm.
finances. And then there's some who are very high. What would you say the lowest and the highest are? Do you know?
See, most of the franchise fee, and that's how franchising started, have to pay franchise fee. They varies. I mean, I've seen as low as $20,000, and I've seen for one unit, and then I've seen 100,000. But that's not it. If you buy a restaurant and you pay, let's say, 70,000 franchise fee, this is not even close, because now you have to find a building, and a lot of times you have to build your own building, standalone building, and then you have to buy all the equipment, and then you have to do all the decoration. So a lot of upscale restaurants or um, really fancy fast food like McDonald's or Burger King, it's gonna go well north of $1 million. That's without the cost of building the building to all in. So you would spend over $1 million to open it. But
Right.
for example, bookkeeping, you don't need to build the building. You don't even need to have a lease. You can work, and we recommend for you to work from home. So
Mhm.
that saves on the real estate. So bookkeeping for the first 3 months, including the franchise fee, I mean, we had, and the franchisor has to report that and explain where the money would go. I think you would need like $70,000 all in, including the franchise fee
Mhm.
for the first 3 months of operations.
Right. And then there's always a franchise yearly fee, if you will, or is it monthly? Is it yearly, weekly?
It's
How's that
it's
work?
it's 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 called royalties, and it really depends on the franchisor. I've never seen franchisor charging, annually, because they want their money right away. So I've seen them
Mhm.
doing it on a weekly basis. I've seen some franchisors even collecting the money on behalf of franchisees and just paying them the net less the royalties. But
Mhm.
a lot of franchisors doing it on a monthly basis. So yes, there is royalties that you have to pay, and that's how franchisors m- make money. I mean, that's really what they do. I mean, there are some franchisors that you have to buy from them, and they have markups. There is nothing people have to buy from my franchise, for example. So the way
Mhm.
we make money is through the royalties. That's why I tell my franchisees, your success is my success.
Right.
So we are business partners. You just happen to be, majority partner, and I am a minority partner. That's it. But we're going in. God forbid you're going down. We're going down together. You're
Mm.
growing. We both benefit.
Yeah, you both grow together. When we talk about royalties, is it a set percentage, or is it like a 3%, 5%, 10%? What is a typical?
I- it's different, depends on the industry, because it depends on the volume. A lot of restaurants, it's 5 to 6%. But then you also pay a certain percentage towards national advertising funds. So, like when you see the advertisement during the Super Bowl, that comes from the money collected from the franchisees. So our royalties is larger, which is typical for service. Ours is 10% for bookkeeping, but all the marketing money we collect, they all 100% of it spent on the local level. It's nothing like any trade show we go to get a new brand that we potentially give to our franchisees. We don't spend any of the franchisees' money for that. So there is no national fund.
Mm.
So
Got it.
it,
Got it.
it really depends on the industry. There is no right or wrong. But what I tell my franchisees, we're gonna teach you how to price it so it's enough for you and it's enough for us. So it's not like we're taking, cutthroat. We're taking 10% of your earned money, and you just don't have any profits. Blah blah blah. That's not the case. But in order for us to hire more staff and to grow and do everything, I mean, there is cost.
Mhm. Oh, without a doubt, it's a part of doing business, I believe, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, so when we consider, do we franchise or do we go alone? What makes more sense? For example, let's say I'm gonna open up a donut shop. I
Mhm.
open up one, I open up two, I open up three, I open up four. I have to run them. I have to have the managers. I have to think about every little aspect of everything. What's better, owning them all or franchising them?
Well, I don't think honestly it's better or worse. It's what's good for you. What's
Mm,
your goal? Where you want to be? As soon as you become a franchisor, my clients as a franchisor are not the small businesses that we do bookkeeping for.
mhm.
My clients are now the franchisees. So
Right.
the whole concept is changing. This is like a big shift. It's not like, oh yeah, I had three, now I'm gonna have 33. It's completely different. You're not
Mm,
thinking about what value can I provide to my franchisees, and then you're gonna hear from them. And then look, when COVID happened, a lot of franchisors had to think on their toes. I mean, that was like all the gyms. I mean, all of
mm,
a sudden the revenue went to zero. Remember then somebody came up with like video training, and then everybody started doing it virtual. But it was like at least a month or two before people started doing that,
right.
because they're like, oh, so what are we gonna do now? I mean, the restaurants closed, but eventually, the fast food and the other ones did really good for the deliveries, but the
Mhm.
high level upscale restaurants, some of them didn't make it. I live in downtown San Diego. I walk around, and there are a lot of places that have been there for 25 years. They're gone. They're not there,
Right.
and then nobody's coming back. Like really good restaurants, but they just didn't make it, and most of them did not make it through COVID because people did
Mm,
not order. It didn't make sense for them to keep the kitchen open, and they closed, and then they couldn't find whatever it is. So yeah, if you go and it's sad because I remember, oh, I was here at that point. I was here for my birthday, and now those places are gone.
yeah, yeah. It was so sad to see so many businesses go out, especially
Yes,
like
but special restaurants. I mean, that definitely I agree with you. But also, it gave a great opportunity for other businesses to grow.
Mhm,
So to
mhm,
fill the void. It was interesting. Before COVID, I was at the franchise uh, expo, and it was actually a conference that had 5,000 people. It has 5,000 on average every year. It was about a month before the shutdown. A lot of people didn't come. I mean, we didn't have any cases in the US yet, but it was coming from all over the world. So a lot of people didn't come. Maybe it was like 2,500 people. So felt a little bit, like not enough people, but whatever. I still did not believe that we're going to go into shutdown. Nobody was talking about it then. And
mhm,
the majority of the brands who were there and who were talking to us and saying how great it is were fitness. I'd say
mm.
60%. There were so many
Wow.
gyms. Like you would come up, and guess what happened? Now there's still a couple of new ones coming every year, but and I say couple, I have no idea how many total,
Mm,
but it's not even close. Now the hottest franchising thing is uh, pet care, dog grooming, dog supplies, cat hotel. I mean, that type of stuff. Then
mm,
senior care and kid services. So I'd say these are the three hottest categories right now. And of course, I
mm.
have to plug in a bookkeeping, but
Of course you do.
but we're the only bookkeeping franchise in the United States. Like true bookkeeping, I don't have anybody franchising right now. Everybody else does taxes, so they do some business service, they do CFO. We are truly the only one bookkeeping, at least at this point, who is franchising in the United States. So, but jokes aside, obviously we're a very small segment and we're not for everybody. But I believe we have our audience, and I strongly believe bookkeeping will continue growing. But I just told you the industries where people going into. But I was just talking to potential candidate for the brokerage yesterday, and I told him, I said, look, a year will come, 2 years, and these areas will get oversaturated, and something
Right.
else will come up because you only need so many businesses in one area. You don't
Right.
see as many pizza shops as you seeing it 8, 10 years ago. I'm talking about again franchises, new ones. Um,
Right.
and I'm not talking about the big players because all their territories are taken. Like you cannot go and find this place to open in San Diego for Domino's because the whole San Diego is taken. That same is in
Mhm.
every major city. So now your opportunity is either to buy the existing one, which is going to cost you arm and leg because you're buying existing cash flow, or buying somebody smaller. And maybe their pizza is going to be as good or better, but nobody knows the name. I mean, the question, are the
Right.
people going to go there, or they're going to call Domino's?
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting. There is a 7-Eleven. I've never seen one close down, but I saw one close down the end of last year, and they're across from a college.
Hmm.
And you would imagine that they're busy all the time, and it must have been mismanaged because they actually closed down. And I was in shock. I said, I've never seen a 7-Eleven close.
Hmm.
So my only thought is mismanage, right?
Yes, and also people, the change of hearts. People, start using delivery, and they might not go to a store. You can get some stuff delivered to your house, in a few hours sometimes. So why would you leave, your sofa? And I still love going to shopping. I still love, like, for me, it's like
Mm,
while I was going to college, I was working for Costco for 5 years,
mm,
and that was one of the best things that could happen to me. There's this whole story how I got there, because I was told nobody's going to hire you because you don't speak English, and yet I
right.
got in. So again, just persistent helps, but that's not the point. Absolutely, I met so many people over the years, and it got me to where I am now. And like, I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. I can talk to people. I feel
Mm,
people. So when you are at the register, I don't know, hundreds of people going through you 5 days a week. So I met a lot of interesting people, and so I love going to Costco. Now, for me, I go to Costco, I put my podcast on, and I'm getting lost. three hundred
Love it.
dollars later, I have a full, basket of stuff, and half of it I wasn't even planning on buying. So that was interesting.
Costco is definitely something else, right? One of the things you just said is that you didn't even plan on spending the 300 or 4 or $500, but all of a sudden you're like, I need that, I need this, and you really didn't need any of that.
I
Right?
know.
Such a great gimmick, and the fact that they give out free food and all tastings and all that is so brilliant. How does somebody go from working for someone else? And you said earlier that they try to buy a job, and that's a mistake. How does somebody go from working for someone to becoming a franchisee? Um, because maybe they think that they're going to leave their job, but they don't realize that they have to actually work maybe even harder.
Not maybe, they have to work harder, because at
Yeah,
least in the beginning there is big. I
right.
mean, see, for there is a direct correlation between the risk and the reward. The higher the risk, the bigger is the reward. The lower
Mhm.
the risk, the lower the reward.
Correct.
And that's so I think it's a job of a franchisor to educate them, and also to weed out people who might not be a good person for franchising. When you just start franchising, and I've been there, done that, and now I feel comfortable with my franchisees. I would sell to anybody. Every franchisor is doing it. Like, I want the number of units, so I'm gonna say, as long as you have a pulse and a check, I'll sell it to you. But that's the biggest mistake, because again, I have to deal with these people, and they're just not a good representation of of the franchisee. So we have said no, because people
Mhm.
came with this expectation. Well, that's what I'm planning to do. I'm like, dude, this is not a job. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that you have to work 24/7, because actually I believe in work-life balance. I call it life-work balance. If I get a workaholic who wants to buy my business, I'm probably not going to sell it to them either, because he or she will really, really ruin my culture. Because culture is
Right.
huge for our company. Culture,
Oof.
our hashtag is cool bean counters.
Mm. That's a great
So We're gonna make
Tagline.
bookkeeping. We're gonna make bookkeeping great again. Now, and I'm not using that phrase, but my point is, we are actually, but we are cool bean counters. So if somebody comes in and like, well, I'm gonna work hard and I'm gonna work a lot, and this is my life, I'm like, that's not cool. You only can do it for
Mm,
so much. I don't want you in my I don't want you in my system because I want people to work hard and play hard. It's when I go visit my office in Philippines, for example, for where we have bookkeepers, we always go to karaoke because my employees there, they love it. I mean, there is still video that I haven't seen of me doing Madonna song Material Girl, and then the whole company owns it now and they're all laughing, and I'm like, I'm good with that. I don't have any
right.
problem. Yes, I mean, I had a drink and I just I was having fun, and they know, and every time we go we do something else. I know they're filming me, and honestly I don't mind because
Right.
it's fun. They can see that's me. That's who I am. Really, I'm not like doing it. It's just okay. Whatever. I was just having a good time, and I
Mm,
teach everybody that like, look, the job is not everything. The business is not everything. But there is time when you have to get your stuff together
mm.
and work hard. I mean, of course.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Max, what a great conversation. Thank you for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. So I have your website going across. Um, tell us what somebody can expect when they reach out to you, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Well, they can expect, me being direct, me being honest. If somebody not a good match for franchising, I will tell them that. If somebody comes in and they're like, "Well, I've decided I want to buy this, and only this," and I see, in my opinion, it's not a good match, I will tell them that. And if they don't
Mm,
like it, that's the benefit, again, curse of being born in the former Soviet Union. I'm very direct. But and people who get to know me appreciate it, but for some people it's a little bit too much. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. If you're not a good match for the system, I'll let you know. But so definitely doesn't matter what you click on franchise with Max, you still end up talking to me at some point. You'll talk to the team, they'll answer all the questions, but eventually everybody will get to me. So what you can expect is getting Max, getting real Max, and you know, I am who I am, and I'm proud of it.
awesome, Max. What a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time today. What an amazing idea that you went from being bankrupt to creating something enormous for yourself. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you so much, Sifu. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Everybody, do me a favor, follow the show, share the show with somebody who may be looking to go into franchising or create a franchise. Reach out to my new friend Max, and he will help you. And he'll be honest with you too. Love it. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have yourself an exceptional rest of the day, Max. Pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, Sifu.